people listening today obviously know you as Tim Fleming on the TV show Heartland, and they're big fans of the show. So I think we should chat about it because that's what they're probably listening for. But I want to bring you actually back to the beginning of your journey with the show. How did you originally come across Heartland, and did you automatically connect with the character of Tim? Because it is funny, when I was interviewing Sean Johnston, he even said he went for the character of Tim, and I was like, nah, I can't see you as a Tim. Chris is a Tim.
Okay, well, here's a couple things. My only brother, who's 2 years younger than me, is named Tim.
Oh, that's
so
funny.
My whole life I've been called Tim, and it's just ironic that I'd end up playing Tim all these years. Second of all, I had just come off of a TV series that I absolutely loved doing called Wild Card with Jolie Fisher. And it was a drama comedy about two private insurance investigators who wouldn't admit that they were in love with each other. And we investigated, it was one of those types of
That
shows.
sounds cool. I want to watch it.
And it was fun and funny, and I really loved doing it. But I thought the show was going to run for years, and it ran for 2. And I was really disappointed about that because it had legs. But again, in this business, the strangest things can happen. And in the case of that show, the president of the network died of cancer that year. And he was the real champion of the show. And the writers were a male-female husband and wife writing team who had a great track record, and they quit. And we had to sustain the loss of these people. And it was that magic combination of writing that made that show work. So I'm unemployed for that. Right after that, for the first time in my career, I really wasn't sure what I was going to do. And at the same time, the writer's strike hit, and reality television in 2007 had become the new popular program because it was the crack cocaine of programming. It allowed the networks to make stuff that they could make for cheap and get on the air, and it had a quick hit. Moral of the story was there was not a lot of work for scripted television. Actors were panicking, writers were panicking. This is 2007, and CBC came along with this pilot they were going to do called Heartland. And I was approached, and I read it, and the very first read, I said to my wife, this thing can be a hit. I said, this is the exact kind of show that I've been waiting to watch with our kids, because I fall asleep every show that they watch. There's nothing that keeps me awake other than SpongeBob. And, they were at that age, right at the right Heartland demographic. They were all teenagers and younger. So I thought, if they do this well, this thing could last, and maybe I should wade into this. And they had made me an offer to do a cameo appearance in the pilot, where Tim comes back to his ex-wife's funeral, Amy and Lou's mother. And I agreed to do that. And then some time passed between that pilot being picked up for series or not. And in that time, they had made an offer, and it was not a good offer, not to me anyway, because I was being advised not to do it. But my heart was telling me, geez, it's too bad, because I think this could be good. But the commerce gets in the way, and you have a price and so on, and you're taking advice from your manager, agent, and so eventually I ended up having a brief meeting with the president of the CBC network at the time. It's the National Broadcasting Network, Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. And basically it was just a meeting where he bullied me. He said, what's your problem? We want you on this show. We think it's going to be good. And I said, well, this apparently this and that are in the way. And he said, well, if we can eliminate those things. And I said, then I'd do it. He said, well, then you're going to do it. And
awesome.
That's how it happened for me. I didn't know much about it at all. I didn't know about the books. I didn't know the other actors at all. They were brand new. Sean was an experienced actor who I hadn't even crossed paths with, actually, because we were from different parts of the country and kind of in different paths. And the others were all brand new. They were kids. And I was coming in with a lot of experience at that point. I put in hours and hours, hundreds of hours on television sets at that point as an adult. So it was quite a change for me, too. I was used to carrying a load, and I wasn't being asked to do that in Heartland. I was just being asked to hit my mark and say my lines, and that was okay. I signed up, and I'm still there, and I found a way to make it something that I was interested in doing and wanting to do. But initially, it was a bit of a challenge for me trying to gear down and not being asked of much. And I don't think that's an uncommon situation. But am I ever glad that I stuck with it? And I'm very proud of it now. In fact, it's now going into a 15th season.
Yeah.
Which is, as they say, it's the longest running Canadian series. I really never saw this coming, but in my world, it's one of the greatest gigs you could have.
Definitely.
Steady, long running work in a business with a job you love. No complaints. And it has been an absolutely beautiful experience working in the mountains and the foothills and environs of the Rockies, and work with really talented, resilient crew people, and have made some lasting friendships with some of the members of our crew that I do stay in touch with. And I play a lot of golf and fish and things like that in the summer out there with them. And it's become, a way of life, actually. But I think for the listeners, it's important to know that I don't live. I mean, what is a 5-hour plane ride from Sydney? What town is 5 hours by plane from Sydney? That's where
by plane, probably.
Well, that's where I'm from. That's where I live. I'm 5-hour plane flight. So wow. I'm on the other side. I'm on the other side of the country from where we film. And most of our cast live, in the province,
on the other side, yeah,
or within an hour's plane. So it's been very difficult for logistically. It's been a challenge because when we film Heartland, I have to, over the years, picked up, and my kids are all grown now. They're working women, and my youngest is in law school. But at when they were younger, 10 years ago, we had a lot of logistics to work out all the time to get out and do the show from such a distance. So that has been part of my experience. It really has been a challenge that way for us all. So it's a bit of a family commitment. Yeah. We have to make. Dad's doing Heartland again. It starts in May. What are we going to do? What's everybody doing this summer? Yeah. Where's everybody going to be? How can we meet out in Calgary? And will we get to see each other? And
that's well, we're glad you stuck with it.
It's a good problem to have. But
it is. It is to have work. And did you already know how to ride horses, or did you have to learn for the show?
Oh, you know what? When I did my first series for Warner Brothers, I didn't know anything about martial arts and fighting. And by the time I was done, I was awesome at fighting on camera, looking like I could fight because I'm an actor. And but I didn't know any more about martial arts than when I started, really. I'm an actor. Same goes for Heartland. I ride in every one of those shows that you see me on horseback. I also have a double who does anything at dangerous speed. But we all ride on the show. But I've never looked
realistic.
at it.
That's what matters.
Well, but you're seeing us riding. It's film business, so we're not going to run. We're not going to put none of our actors, on horseback and have them run flat out. That's just irresponsible and a huge risk insurance-wise. So, everybody rides on the show, and we all love horses. And if we didn't when we started, we do now.
Yeah.
Some people are scared of horses, and some people aren't animal people. But I can tell you that it's been an incredibly calming experience and wonderful to have that presence of the horses around. It just changes the dynamic on a set for some reason. They're creatures that speak to us and can alter our behavior without ever, just by their presence alone.
Sounds like a very calming set.
It really is. It's pretty remarkable that way. So we've had a really great run, and I'm not sure how long we'll do it. You just don't know these things in the business. But I know that the challenge that we had this year was sustaining the loss of Ty.
Yeah.
And there were concerns.
Yeah, did you think it was going to affect the fans as much as it has?
Well, I'd had some experience with it personally, because while I was doing Heartland, every year I was doing a series of movies called The Good Witch.
Which I love, by the way. Love The Good Witch. Been watching the new series on Netflix. Which unfortunately, your character's no longer there, but...
Okay, so that was my story. So they killed my character off because when we went to series, we weren't able to make a deal for me to do both series. And my allegiance was to Heartland at that point, and had just re-signed my contract. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to do both at the same time. But again, it was a 5-hour flight difference from where they were filming, so that was challenging. And of course, other things. But for the first year of that, when they started the series, the fans of Good Witch freaked out over the loss. Well, that was my own personal little experience. That didn't compare to the love of Ty.
Yeah, over 14 years.
Over 14 years. But it's happened over and over again in television series. If an actor wants to leave, they leave, and you try to fill the gap, the hole that's been made.
And I do like how they've, started to wean the fans off him, if that makes sense, so that, he doesn't just die and, okay, say goodbye. They've actually done it really gradually, which is really beautiful, so that we can say goodbye properly. Unlike I think the
writers have actually, the writing team and the leadership of Heather Conkey as the showrunner, in this case. And that was the vibe on set, even behind the pandemic masks this year and all of the protocols we had to go through. We knew we had a daunting challenge to make these shows better, as best we could make them, to overcome the loss of this character. And I think everyone rose to the challenge, but you're only as good as the writing. And, that's the other thing. I'm not Tim. I don't even like Tim. I like to play Tim. Tim is 3 different guys that I know. I'm not going to tell you who. And I love those guys, but I also can't stand them. And does that make sense? So that's kind of who I think of, who I built Tim around.
Yeah.
And I think, that keeps that the writers have done a great job with each of the characters in sustaining and growing the characters for the actors and allowed us, we're all different that way. I never weigh in on the writing. I really respect what the writers go through. And as a director, I see how much of a jigsaw puzzle writing episodes of television can really be. It's miraculous to me. I really admire them. So I don't, have many discussions about where my character's headed. I often don't even ask at the beginning of the year. I sort of leave it up to the
it's a surprise for all of us.
Wonder where I'm going to be headed.
You've all done such a good job. It must be very hard to, after 14 years of filming with Graham Wardle and having the character of Ty there, to now not have him there. So not only the writing's been fantastic, but all of you in the cast, your acting has just been impeccable.
Thank you.
That's all right. Take the compliment.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Before we finish up today, I did want to quickly talk about you directing and producing, because that's something else you've been getting into on the side of acting, and you've directed at least, about 20 episodes so far of Heartland. How was getting into that for you? Did you actually do like a course or did you kind of study it from all your years of acting and learning from other directors?
The latter. I started directing in the 90s when I was doing Silk Stockings, and I was given the opportunity by an iconic producer at the time named Stephen Cannell. And Stephen Cannell was the showrunner, writer, creator behind shows in the 90s and 80s like 21 Jump Street and Wise Guy. And he was prolific. But he also liked to act in some of his shows. And I had just been cast and hired to lead a cop show called Silk Stockings that ran on the USA Network. And he came on set to perform a small role. And there he was, this prolific producer. And I was, he was a very nice guy. But he said to me that one day, he said, I hope you plan on directing some of these. And I just like that, I said, well, I'd love to, but he said, in fewer words, but he said, basically, I've been watching, I think you can do this job. Anyway, he championed it. He was the one that really made it happen for me back then. So I started directing that show. And then when I came back up to Canada, I was on Queer as Folk for a year, and then I started on Wild Card. And Canada was different. It was just like, well, you can't do both. You can act or direct, but nobody does both. And which was unfortunate. So when I was on Heartland, I think it came down, and I mentioned it already, I needed a little more to do. And I was capable of doing both. So they allowed me to start doing that. And I must say that that's when I feel most fully engaged, when I'm doing both jobs on the show. It's not that I have a favorite, because they're two very different things. Especially directing television, it's really a time and money, and it's a grinding, grueling type of existence when you're prepping and filming a 1-hour television series. But even though Heartland looks like a pretty show with horses and children, those actually can be logistics that are very difficult to deal with, because children have shorter hours. We shoot in some remote places, always on location. And we have animals involved as well, which are exceptionally well behaved and actually not the problem. Usually the difficulties we have with Heartland are weather and losing light, constantly changing weather from the mountains. And so it can really become, and we're on a very tight budget. So I've never, ever been on a production where somebody says, we have way more money than we need. So have at it.
Go ahead.
It's always, we have no money. We have 23 seconds to do this. So I think for me that the logistics part of it isn't, it's easy for me to deal with. And I can do both at the same time. Acting requires a whole different energy of calming yourself And directing is like doing a jigsaw puzzle all day, standing up outside, and
you're just in control all the time.
Right. So I enjoy it. I think that the cast tolerate me, and the crew. We get through it.
Yeah.
I'm proud of the shows I've done. They do tend to throw a lot of the more action oriented shows at me for some reason. I made the mistake of, I guess, proving I could do one way back when, and I get a lot of that. But there's action in every show that we have, so every director's got. It's not like there's one easier episode than another, but it's essential to me actually existing on Heartland, because I'm not the lead guy. They don't need me to act for 12 hours a day. So
yeah,
if I only have to act for a couple hours of the day, there's a lot of
downtime.
Might as well direct.
Yeah.
Might as well use me for something else. So.
Well, you're doing a great job. Keep it up.
Well, thank you.
I do really want to ask too, because there is a scene in the new season of you destroying the house that Amy and Ty were starting to build. Was that really fun for you to actually act in?
Well, no, because you're in the moment.
Yeah, you have to act like you're being serious, but I'm sure it would have been really therapeutic. No. Just smashing the wood.
Yeah. It's a good question. But no, I can find outlets for that kind of stuff outside of my work. That, I suppose, the trick on that one was exactly how were we going to disassemble the framing of that house with in a probably a 15-second montage.
Yeah.
So we had pre-rigged certain things, and I had to hit things specifically and end up in certain spots. So it was all by design.
The magic of TV. Incredible.
Yeah, but it was I think that was a great episode. It was directed by Pierre Tremblay, the first one, and that was a good moment, the way he had filmed that.
One of the best scenes, I think. And you were in it. Good on you. Very, very heartfelt. You just kind of were really feeling the emotion in that one.
Yeah, the whole season's been somewhat, I think it's been a good, strong season, and not too melodramatic.
It's been full of emotions, happy, sad, angry. It's been everything.
Well, I think you might agree that they're real emotions.
Yeah.
The last episode of Ty's jacket and the motorcycle was in the, these are things that happen, that people go through in real life.
Yeah.
All of us do. What do I do with their clothes?
Yeah, it was great writing, because I'm like, don't throw out the jacket.
And people can relate, and I think that's what I'm finding interesting about the season, is that it's touching on a lot of different experiences that the audience, the viewers, have had in their own lives, and
and not just even this season, the whole show, I think.
Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. There's not really, I find, any other show out there like it, because it is so relatable, and it's real things that we go through, instead of just making it look good and explosions and all that.
I think I agree with you, and I think Amber has been exceptional this year.
Definitely.
And which begs the question. The question is, was the character of Ty holding certain things back?
Oh, we're getting deep. Can't wait to see the next season. Where is it gonna go?
Well, I think you're right to think that. I think that this could be it could be a strength, not necessarily a weakness. But all that said, anybody out there that's an actor listening to me right now going, that guy just, he just wants to keep his job. Well, yeah, sure, we all do. You lose a character and they're gone, and no other actor's going to say, well, if he's not here, I'm not going to do it. It just doesn't happen because it's our business.
Yeah.
We miss Graham, we miss Graham, and he grew up on our set. And I completely understand that as a young man, looking at his life and saying, I've spent, half of my life on this film set, on this one show, that he might have questions. Is there something else maybe I should look at? Maybe there's something missing, You're talking to a person who didn't start in the business till my late 20s. So I'd already answered a lot of those questions along the way in my life, and had already had a family coming into it. And, so it's like the children that were on the show. Mallory, Jessica Omley left the show, and she said to me one year, Chris, I've been on this show half my life. And she was 19 at the time. And I thought, you're right, kid, get out there.
Go live it. Yep.
I get it. So you miss your fellow actors and the presence on, and you have the memories, and you forge ahead because you want the job. But shit happens. So, I'm just proud that everybody really somehow, it was an odd year to go almost a year before we filmed that show again. When we said goodbye on season 14 or season 13, it was over a year before we saw each other again. Wow. Because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
And we knew we were going to do another season. We just didn't know when. So we wrapped in August. The next August, this past year, we still hadn't started filming, and we didn't start until September. And now we had to squeeze all of those 10 shows in between September and December that were scripts that were really written for the summer months.
Yeah.
And as we got into the season in September to December in Alberta, the sun starts to go down at 6 o'clock. By 6, we're losing the light in the afternoon, and snow's coming, and the temperatures are dropping, and we have to play baseball outside. Right? That show was written for the summer.
Yeah.
We shot it. There was snow on the ground when you saw it. We had a lot of challenges this year getting those 10 shows done, and the fact that they've turned out as well as they have and they're being received the way they are is just proof that you can, collectively, if you all try and
just make it work,
you can make it work. And also not to take it too seriously, because you got to be able to dance,
exactly,
and entertain people. So if we're gonna have a baseball game in the snow, let's do it. Can we get some of the snow off the field? So we did. It was amazing.